All right, we want to do a section perspective. If I just dropped a section cut using the section tool up here, it's always going to be 2D. And the goal of this one is to have more of a 3D effect with still a section cut. So just like with the Exploded Axo, we're going to start with our 3D view. We're going to right click and we're going to duplicate it with detailing. And now I'm going to rename this one section perspective. And again, I'm going to start hiding stuff I don't care about. So I don't want to see that in here. I don't want to see any model lines in here. So I'm going to say hide category. Same thing for levels. And you can say it says repeat hide category here. And now we have these again. So I got to come in and one by one. Now maybe it would have been smart of me to have duplicated after I had already done all this, so I could have one clean one for the Axo and one clean one for the section perspective. Right, I think this is good. So now that we have this, we need to add a section box. So if you look at your properties, you'll see it's down here in extents. I'm going to turn on a section box. And now I can decide the sun comes from the south here. So I'm going to go ahead and do mine from here. I'm just barely going to cut into the building. The reason I'm doing such a shallow cut is because the sun, if you're really close to these walls, can make them blown out and extremely bright. So now that I've got it cut, I'm going to come over to the front view. And I am going to do a couple things. First is I'm going to hide this section box because I don't want to see it anymore. Next is I'm going to right click on the cube. Right now it's set to orthographic. That just means it's 2D. So we want to give some depth to this. We're going to change this to perspective. And now you can see we're still cutting through the building, but we're getting a little more context. So I need to do one more thing to make this look good, at least in Revit. You probably want to add people in here milling about. You can do that in Photoshop, or if you really want to, you can do it in Revit. But what I really want is to have the sun showing, because having shadows really helps this image. So I'm going to switch. I'm going to make sure it's a still. I'm going to make sure my ground plane is where it belongs. I'm going to try, I don't know, 9 o'clock in the morning. Maybe try 2 in the afternoon, see how that looks. Yeah, I think maybe earlier in the day is better. Play around until you find something you're happy with. Yeah, 8 kind of gives a nice darker quality to the travertine. So I'm going to say okay. Now the last thing we need to do, just like with our floor plans, these should not show concrete. Anything we're cutting through should show as black. So I'm going to come into, I'm going to make sure I'm not clicked on anything specific. I'm going to go to Visibility Graphics, select all, and again I'm going to click the very first one that I'm able to, which is Audiovisual Devices on the patterns. And I'm going to override to be solid and black. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to apply it, and you can see it's applied. I want to make sure it stays. I can't just close this window. I have to click OK. So now I've got my early morning. Maybe I'm not thrilled with this. I'd probably play around with it some more. But anything we're cutting through is black. You can see I've got a gap over here. That's because I hadn't done what the earlier video showed. If you have a gap like this, you can either fix it by creating more topography here, or in Photoshop you can just make a black box that matches. So when you export this, you can always crop this bit later to make it fit your presentation board. But pick a view, and just like before with the AXO, if you want to maybe show more of the roof, you can carefully tilt this up. If you want to show more of the interior, you can tilt it back. And if you feel like you've gone too far in any one direction, just go back to orthographic, click front, and then right click it and click perspective. And it'll kind of reset. And you can see I'm not a fan of this one, so I'll go back to orthographic, click front, and before I even zoom in, I'm going to switch to perspective. Now this will give me closer to what I started with. So Revit kind of does it based on where you're at the time. So if I'm zoomed in on this side, it's going to skew things towards this side of the building. If I'm way out here, it's going to mostly center it. All right, that's it for the section perspective. Again, export it as a lossless JPEG. Make sure it's at 300 or higher as far as resolution. And you can add entourage in Photoshop, or you can add it in here first.